Hello. Last month I did a video called 6 American Things That I Can No Longer Live Without. And at the end of that video I made the mistake of saying this. And if this video does well, my producers say, then we'll do a part 2. If it tanks, then we'll just push that part 2 under the rug. Unfortunately, my producers won because that video has been watched 500,000 times. Clearly a popular video with my subscribers, and if you are not yet subscribed, do that now. In the meantime, this is part 2. One problem with having really rubbish British hair is that it blows around on a windy day like today. And so as somebody who used to not like hats because I had good hair, I never thought in a million years I would end up being a fan of this first entry. And that is the baseball cap. Anybody who's been watching my videos now for a while will know that I often wear these in videos, not just because I have rubbish hair, but sometimes because I'm a very busy man and I don't always have time to shower. Now, some have said that this, as well as previously my beard, are indicators that I had slowly morphed into a Midwestern man. And it's true, I definitely feel that with all of my heart. And the simple baseball cap, while certainly not the height of cool, keeps the sun out of your eyes. And what better way to showcase that to you than standing with the sun behind me? So just... yeah, it does, it works. I can see the trees and not much else. I'm going to turn back around now. Now, don't be under the misconception that we don't have baseball caps in the UK. I think they are usually worn by very specific people who want to look trendy, which is ironic. But here you'll see all manner of people wearing them. I was speaking to my patrons the other day about how it's not uncommon to see even senior citizens wearing them, along with their tennis shoes and jeans. And that's a look that is almost unimaginable among seniors in the UK, at least seniors that would be the equivalent of my granddad. In other words, they were born in the earlier part of the 20th century. And I think it's just because, you know, back in the 1930s, people were wearing jeans here and baseball was a big thing. So I imagine these took off and were really cool. So now I'm embracing my inner American grandpa. So now that I've got that off my chest, I'm going to go back inside. But it's not just the things that I keep on my head, it's also the things I keep in my wallet. And you might be thinking, ooh, are we going to see Lawrence's debit card so that we can pair this with his mother's maiden name and steal all of his cash? And the answer is no. And you might also be thinking, maybe he's going to whip out his social security card. But between you and me, that is a card that I can live without, because I did for about 4 years after my wallet was stolen and possibly my identity. No, the wallet item in question is this. It's a health insurance card. And you might be thinking, Lawrence, do you not have these in Britain? And the answer to that is not really. See, firstly, a UK national insurance card is kind of similar to an American social security card in that you are issued one and you're supposed to keep that one for life. Just like an SSN, a national insurance number is used to track an individual's social security contributions and taxes, and is not itself evidence of a private health insurance plan because, well, everyone in the UK is covered under the National Health Service. Whereas because my insurance here in the United States expires on a yearly basis, so too do these cards. So I have to update them every year, and my wife will tell you that I end up having about 4 of them in my wallet with different expiration dates on because I am lazy and forget to throw them out. I mean, that's the same with hotel keys. But the point is, they're on this list because I can't live without them, and that's almost literally true. You know, if I get hospitalized in a freakish vending machine related incident, then they're going to ask for it. And if I don't have it, then they'll probably just look up my details. And then my hope is that the insurance covers most of the cost of a freakish vending machine related incident. It depends on the injury. In America, companies with 50 or more employees must provide health insurance or face substantial fines. On the other hand, self-employed humans like me usually have to get our healthcare through the health insurance marketplace. Healthcare is one of many expenditures that businesses, big and small, need to track, which is why you should check out today's sponsor, Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one solution for businesses like mine, which is just as well because when left to my own devices, I am woefully disorganized. After just faffing about for the past 10 years, I can finally keep track of my schedule using Odoo's planning app. In turn, this makes it much easier to plan upcoming content deliverables and side projects. What's more, the fan survey referenced in this very video was created using Odoo's survey application. Furthermore, Odoo has a robust customer relationship management app, not to mention accounting, sales, and inventory management. For people like me who are motivated by a strong aesthetic, I love having all of these apps housed together in one visually appealing menu. Better yet, your first application is free for life. So, click the link in the description to get started. You know, when I put together these lists of American things that I can no longer live without, some of them are not literal. That's just a phrase that you use in order to generate clicks. And then some of them might actually save my life. And one of those is an area of my house that I'm sitting in right now known as the basement. And you might be thinking, Lawrence, again, surely you have basements in the UK. And yes, there are some houses that are built with basements, but you're not going to find it in most houses. I didn't growing up. And there might be some Americans from the southern United States saying things like, Lawrence, we don't have basements out here either. What are you talking about? Well, I live out here in the Midwest, and most houses and or apartments that I've ever lived in do have a basement or two. No building has two basements. I don't know why I said that. Just one. And the reason that my basement could one day potentially be a lifesaver is not just because we're going to have nuclear war, but also I'm learning more and more that the United States is a breeding ground for tornadoes. And in the last 2 years, I must have experienced about 10 tornado warnings. Now, most of the time, nothing happens. You get your pets together, you head down to the basement, you hunker down there for about half an hour, and then it's done. And you go back up and you wonder why I even bothered. But as somebody who has seen the film Twister, I know that these can be real events that destroy homes. And if that were to occur, I've got nowhere else to go that would stop my face from being blown clean off. Now, you have to find a part of the basement that doesn't have windows. The same would be true in a nuclear catastrophe. Just the other day, I watched a made-for-TV movie from the 80s called The Day After, and they put mud in front of the windows. And the family in this film also left their dog upstairs to die. You know, like a lot of things that I love about America, I think this one goes back to my childhood when I would experience American diners through the medium of film and television. Because in Hollywood, it always feels like American diners are these really warm, ambience-filled eateries where people can conspire to take over the world or save it from people who want to take over the world. And so that gives them this weird sense of adventure. So even if it's like a Saturday morning and we've got nothing better to do, but we just want to go get breakfast, I go there with a big jolly smile on my face. I am smiling. This is how British people smile. Because it perpetually feels like I'm in a movie. Now, you might think, Lawrence, that's really immature. Grow up. Well, the truth is, as I've said on this channel many a time, the things we usually see in American movies are heightened stereotypes of what American life actually is like. And so what you see in the movies isn't a fair depiction of what American life is like. So I like to make an exception for diners. I pretend I'm Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive, and we have to get away from Tommy Lee Jones. And as it turns out, Chicago is not the place to do that. And speaking of food going down, there is one element of a US kitchen that I cannot believe I went without for so long. And that is something that I spoke about a few years ago called a waste disposal unit that are usually housed with inside a sink. They're amazing. All of that gunk and that remains on your dinner plate as you place it into the sink doesn't have to clog up your sink in American kitchens, because you just flick a switch and suddenly it chops up all of that waste and it just goes away. Now, I say that I can no longer live without one of these. Every single apartment that I've ever lived in has had one. But this house, which did come equipped with an extravagant and honestly very needless sensor-operated faucet, does not have a waste disposal unit. And this for me has been the source of deep, deep despair. Because very often while I'm doing dishes, the sink gets clogged up. And do you think a YouTube sensation like me wants to spend his time unblocking a sink? I am relatable. Anyway, once again, all of this has made me very angry, so I need once more to go outside. And that's because we are deep into the throes of my favourite season, autumn, or as it's known here, autumn, but also fall. And I have to say, I don't know that anywhere on earth does fall quite like the United States. Don't get me wrong, I love autumn in Britain with its bonfires and burned effigies, but it's always so drizzly. So it means that when these beautiful orange leaves fall from the trees, they quickly become a slushy mess in the road. And here, it feels like in Chicago there's a lot less precipitation, even though that's maybe not true. If we do get rain, it's usually one huge downpour, but then you have a lot of days in a row where there's no rain. And those leaves come down. They're nice, they're beautiful, and they stay dry and they're good to look at until you take your dog for a walk and he all over them. And again, it's not that Britain doesn't have these lovely leaves. It's just that pound for pound, Britain doesn't have as many trees as the eastern United States. I don't know what he's doing. And so when you're driving through Appalachia, you're just surrounded by this big landscape all the time that feels like a Bob Ross painting. And as somebody who's had the good fortune to experience autumn in Appalachia, as well as southern Indiana and here in Chicago, I don't think autumn will ever be the same anywhere else. And that includes England, who nonetheless do have summers and winters that aren't entirely unfit for humans. Anyway, let me know how your autumn is going, and until part 3, goodbye.